If being under the weather is not enough reason for making a chicken noodle soup, this morning's cooler and foggy morning are two more reasons to. And this morning, I decided to start on making a chicken noodle soup to help me feel better. First, I'm going to pick some Utah tall celery. This is an heirloom celery, and this plant has been growing here for a while now. It's actually one that was grown from a celery that I had already harvested and used in a gumbo, and I wanted to see what happens when you replant it. And it grows, but it doesn't grow back to what it was originally. Next for the chicken noodle soup is going to be some thyme. This is where my thyme is. One of my thyme plants or bushes is. It's next to the elephant garlic out here. There's some rosemary, and on this side in the large planters I have some onions and some carrots that I'm going to get. These are Stuttgarter onions that I grew from seed last season, and onions were a new thing to me. I'm still learning a lot about them. When I grew them, I didn't get a chance to use them, so I just left them in the ground, and it looks like when the big onion bulb formed and you don't use it, it splits up into little tiny onion plants or mini onion plants, and those don't form bulbs. So I'm not going to be using an onion from there, but rather a different onion that was stored over the winter. This is where my carrots are grown out in the public. They're kind of hidden underneath the ground, so I don't have to worry about people pilfering them. They're a lot harder to pull than I thought, so that means my soil's too compacted. I'm going to harvest some carrots and then come back and rework this and loosen the soil and plant more carrots. Right behind the carrot is a green globe artichoke, and that I also grew for the first time and got artichokes from. It was a really good learning experience, learning that most artichokes don't produce until the second year. So if you're going to be growing artichokes from seed, you're going to have to wait at least a couple years. There are some varieties, and in some cases they'll make artichokes in the first year, but generally you'll have to wait until the second year. Once they grow artichokes, they'll continue to grow. It's a perpetual plant, so all you have to do is start the seed once. And I'm going to pull a couple more carrots. I'm not pulling too many. This is another ingredient in my chicken noodle soup is parsley. This is an Italian flat leaf parsley, and it's growing pretty big now. To start things off, I'm going to cut the tops off the carrot and save them for my special buddy. With some food scraps, who better to compost it than Marble here, our trusty rabbit. He helps with composting, and today he's going to be eating carrot tops and some carrot shavings. Back in the kitchen, I continue the prep for the chicken noodle soup, slicing the carrots, celery, parsley, then the onions, and then lastly some thyme. Earlier I had the broth started with some chicken bone and water. Next I'm going to caramelize the onion with some extra virgin olive oil. Caramelizing the onions will make it sweeter and give the soup a little bit of a sweetness to it. And the base and foundation for a chicken noodle soup is thyme. Lots and lots of thyme. Once the soup is back up to a boil, I'm going to add in the roasted chicken, and I have a video on that, so be sure to check out how that chicken was made. Next is the egg noodle. I prefer to boil the noodles with the soup because in doing so, it absorbs the broth and gives the noodles extra flavor. And finally, salt and pepper to taste because the rest of the soup is going to be
All
for my
right,
son.
didn't quite make it to the table. I'm going to start. This thing is piping hot. It's hot. Ow. Got my piping hot soup in here. There's little bits of thyme. Makes the soup super yummy. Need this in chicken noodle soup. And then from here, we have the homegrown carrots. Super sweet, tender, yet crunchy, if that's even possible. And then we have the Utah tall celery. It's a little bit bitter, but I think that's okay. It'll be good. Bitter is usually good for the body. And in here somewhere is the parsley that's all chopped up. And then the other night's roasted chicken shredded here. And then you got the pasta noodle or the noodle. Super yummy, nice and warm, good for my throat.